Hello, y'all. Another story about trucking in my life. In 1983, I think it was, 82 or 83, I was with my brother in a family business, and we had a truck just like this, same setup, almost the same color, pulling an old 45-foot reefer. We had Sunday fundies. He picked them up in Los Angeles, California, and we had multiple stops across the country all the way to Dallas. I mean, I would have to count them. I don't remember how many, but I remember the route, and I remember how things went, and you'll see why. So to make part of the story is the week before this, or this week leading up to this, I spent it doing body work and paint on a 78 Kenworth A model, conventional. I painted it jade green metallic. It was beautiful. So I was pretty tired. So when he picked me up, it was about 10 o'clock at night. He said, "Hey, I want you to go with me." So I said, "Okay." So I said, "I'm really tired though." He said, "Yes, all right, you can sleep." So I went to sleep. I got in the bunk, went to sleep. Anyhow, so we got to Phoenix. This is where I'm at now. And I was still sleeping. He backed in. He was getting unloaded. He was back in the back of the trailer. And somehow or another, one of the pallets of newspaper fell on him and broke his right leg. So now we're here. He's got a broken leg. I felt the truck shake. And I got out of the truck and I went to see what happened. Sure enough, he broke his leg. I helped him get back in the truck. He wouldn't go to the hospital, but he couldn't drive either. So here I am. I think I was 17 years old. It was either 17 or 18, depends on if it was 82 or 83, because I don't remember, I'm old. But anyway, 17, 18 years old, no CDL, several drops ahead of us, and he's like, "You're going to have to drive." And I'm like, "What?" And I had drove a few times before that, drove around the yard, he let me drive a couple times between Los Angeles and Las Vegas. So I had driven a little bit, but not what I'm fixing to do here. Never would have been dreamed of this yet. I mean, I had dreamed to be a truck driver, but not to be into it like this, to have to be forced into it. Anyway, just rambling here. So we got to make all these drops. He's got a broken leg. He won't go to the hospital. So he's in the bunk, and I am now in charge of the whole truck. I have to figure out the route, figure out how to get there, and make sure I make it on time, because these are several stops, and the last drop in Dallas has to be there by Saturday evening because it's for the Sunday morning funnies, right? So we leave Phoenix. I'm wanting to say it was nighttime. I'm wanting to say it was dark time. I want to say about 4 a.m. And our very next stop is in a place that I've never even heard of, but it was in Clifton, Arizona. So let's see the map. So here's our very next stop. All right. And I don't know anything. I'm like, we just go. Now, let me tell you, this was in November. So there had been some snow previously. There was snow on the shoulders and whatnot. And it was daytime, which was good, but it was raining. It rained most of the trip. So here I am, no experience, no CDL, pushing this truck that would only do 62. The truck was governed 62 mile an hour, but I'm hammered down. I'm just hammered down all the time, and I'm not looking for cops. All I'm doing is paying attention to what's around me and what's in front of me. and just got focused on getting it done. So anyway, we get to rolling, and we get about, I don't know, I want to say 14, 15 miles outside of Phoenix, and the air supply valves, both of them, the parking brake and the supply and the parking brake both pop out, and it's blowing air out. And I'm like, what? And I'm thinking, here we are, the brakes are going to lock up, you know. Well, no, they didn't. And so I pulled over the side of the road, and I didn't have no seals or O-rings to put in it. So I duct taped them and put it back together, and it worked. It was fine. It was just fine. And once I got out there and started pushing the truck again, after 15 miles or so, boom, blows them out, blows the air out. And so I don't know what's causing it. I'm just a kid. My brother, he's not paying attention. He don't, you know, he's in pain. He's not really focusing on what's going on. So I go to this truck stop. I don't remember what truck stop it was, but it was somewhere along the route. And I go in there to see if they have these O-rings. And well, I had to go to the shop, and they gave me some O-rings. And I was going out to the truck, and this old timer, he says, "What's going on?" I said, "Well, you know, I guess he knew I was just a punk kid." I said, "Well, I told him, I said, the air supply in the cab, the both valves popping out." He said, "Well, son, you're pushing it too hard." I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, you're pushing it up against the governor." He said, "If you're pushing it up against the governor for so long, it's going to pop them out." So I went in there, and he went in the truck with me, and we put the new O-rings in, and I was just fine after that for the whole trip. I cut it back to 60 mile an hour, wasn't pushing it, never popped them out again. I thought, man, that's crazy. Still don't understand it today, I guess, because I'm not a diesel mechanic. But anyway, that was my first adventure. So I'm just tootling along and, you know, enjoying it, really loving it, because I always wanted to be a truck driver from the time I can remember. So now here's my big glory. I'm out of California in a new place, you know, someplace I've never been, looking at all the desert scenery. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. So anyway, this is going to be a long video if I drive the whole thing, which I won't. So what I'm going to do now is I'll show you what I had to deal with. So we had to go to Clifton and make it there, and it was an easy place to back in. It was the only place that was easy to back in. And when I left there, I had to go to Sholo. And I don't know who or why or whatever, why they set this way. What they routed it this way, but this is how it was routed. So my next stop was in Sholo, and then I had a stop in Albuquerque. So when I got to Albuquerque, which I didn't go this route they're showing me, I went up this way. When I got to Albuquerque, we went to the hospital, and we took my brother in, and they wanted to keep him. I'm like, you can't keep him. I'm like, we got to load on this truck. We got to go, you know. And they're like, well, we got to keep him, blah, blah. I don't remember why they had to keep him. But anyway, and I didn't go that way. I went up this way. Anyway, so he's like, yeah, I can't stay. So they gave us some crutches, and they put a splint on his leg, and we left. And our very next stop was down in Las Cruces, New Mexico. And then we had a stop in Armaguerra. And then we had a stop in Roswell. And then we had a stop in Lubbock. And then our final stop was in Dallas. And throughout all of these little travels, which I don't know what happened here. I didn't go to Oh, no, I did. I forgot. Oh, yeah. So wait a minute. Back up. Take Dallas off. I went to Roswell, but before I went there, I went to Las Cruces, El Paso, and then Roswell, Armaguerra, and then Roswell, or Armaguerra. I don't remember. I know I went to Roswell and El Paso. I think I went El Paso last though, so maybe it was the other way around. Maybe it's been a lot of years. I'm sorry. Maybe I went Roswell, Amargado, Las Cruces, El Paso, and then Dallas. That may have been how it was actually routed. Either way, so these are all the stops I have to make, and I have to be there on time every time with these papers to make it to Dallas at uh, that Saturday night, so they can have these papers for Sunday morning. And if any of y'all drove and ever been into these newspapers, then you know what's up. You know that these aren't easy places to back into. This place in Dallas, I drove. All right, let me say this: I drove legally from 1987 to 2023, and that was the hardest place I'd ever been into in my life. And I did it in 1982 or 3. You had to back in under the building, crowded. I mean, this was a lot of trucks in there, UPS, blah, 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 whatever, these LTL trucks. And I did it. I mean, it took me a minute, but I did it. And when I got done, the dock guy, he's like, "How old are you, son?" I said, whatever, I was 17, 18. He said, "I've seen men come in here and do it for 2 hours." He said, "You put her right in there." I'm like, well, I got to get her done. Anyway, so to finish my story and make it easy, we'll just use the map. So there's a place down here somewhere. I don't know exactly where it's at now. It's along the 10. It's called Hereford, Texas. They don't have it on here. I would suspect it's right around here somewhere. And I had to go to Hereford, Texas, pick up a load of byproducts, and take it back to Los Angeles. And it was just fine and dandy. I drove and drove and drove and drove and, stop, got fuel, stop, ate. I had plenty of time with the byproducts. And when I came into New Mexico, the funny thing is they have a little, you older drivers know, the scale was pretty close to the border and was just a little shack. Looked like a little outhouse. And I blew past that scale. I didn't even see it. I was like, I seen it, but I didn't know it was a scale house. And so there's a cop behind me. Oh no, now I'm in a lot of trouble. Brother's in the back, got a splint on his leg. I ain't got no CDL or commercial driver license at the time. And so I pull over. He walks up. He said, "Sir, you didn't see the scale?" I said, "No, sir." He said, "Well, no, you're not the first one that's ever missed it." He said, "What do you got in your truck?" So I jumped out and I go and open the back. And this stuff stinks. It's dead stuff. So he stood back. He said, "Oh my God." He said, "You got to get out of here. Go ahead, buddy." So I got in my truck, got back in the truck. And when I got to Banning, California, to the scale house, well, you know what? They stopped me, pulled me in for an inspection. And I'm like, oh my shit, what am I going to do? So I tell my brother, I said, "Hey, give me your driver's license." So I grabbed his license, put it in my wallet, pulled into the little bay, the carport or whatever you want to call it, bay, the awning to have my truck inspected. And I climbed out, and the guy, he's like, "I'm not going to inspect the truck. You're a local truck." We were out of Banning. He said, "I just want to know how come the name of the truck's not on here, the name of the company." And I said, "Well, this truck, we just got the truck before we went on this haul." He said, "You got to have a name on the side of the truck." So I didn't have nothing. I took a paper plate and a marker, and I wrote the name of the company on both sides, put it on, and duct taped it on both sides, or maybe an electrical tape on both doors to go 4 miles so I can get to the yard. But anyway, that's my story. That was my real first honest to goodness trucking adventure. And I wouldn't want anybody else to have to do it. I'm just saying. I mean, it wasn't all that fun. Raining the whole way there. Now, coming back, it was beautiful. It was a nice, lovely trip. Got stopped by the police twice. The way there, never got stopped. But both the highway patrolmen and the DOT were really nice guys, so really got lucky. Anyway, if y'all enjoyed the story, like and subscribe. If not, I'm sorry, but it was part of life. Keep on trucking.